Welcome back to the Higher Form Podcast. We're here every week having real conversations with leaders, coaches, and everyday people about what it takes to become your best. We know life will test you, and we're here to share practical tips, tools, and relatable stories to help you build the highest form of your life. If you feel like you're not seeing progress and that you're stuck, this week is going to be a great episode. We are going to be talking about 5 reasons why you are not seeing progress and how we can help you get over the hump.
Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all these things. Like, why am I not seeing progress? Well, the reality is that you might have too many things working against you, or you might not be aligned with what's actually necessary for you to see progress.
Yeah, something is probably off. It's not that you are the only person in the world that's not capable of getting where you want to be. There is a route to the success you are looking for.
Yeah.
Obviously, something's just not working. And there are a lot of crossovers when we talk with people around consistent themes that keep people from getting the progress they want to see. And I felt like it's going to be a good one for us to dive into and help you address the reality of how you feel so that you don't feel alienated or alone in the process.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Anytime someone's got a goal, you're going to go through a slump where what you've been doing is no longer working for you anymore. So you need to figure out what that is. And that's what we'll talk about today, is different reasons of why you might not be pushing past that little slump that you're currently in right now.
Yeah.
So the first one is there's no structure. You're chasing fatigue, you're just going, you're getting random workouts in. You don't really have like a plan.
Yeah. Well, I think that as we get into all of these, it's important to understand that there's going to be kind of 2 different categories that will look at where the structure might be off. It can be in your training, it can be in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
We'll try to address a little bit of everything, because obviously, as you know, the more you can have holistically everything working together, the less likely you're going to run into issues. But usually there's a leak in the process. And to your point, structure is one of the big ones. Also, this idea of just chasing fatigue or doing hard things. I think sometimes people associate progress with coming out on the other side of doing something difficult, and that's certainly necessary. You're going to run into challenging things.
Yeah.
But just because something is hard or difficult doesn't mean that it's going to get you where you want to be.
Yeah, well, and the chasing fatigue, we've talked about this with clients recently, how if you have a high stress job, you're going to come in and you want to do like a high stress workout too, and that might not be the best thing for you at the time.
Yeah, well, a lot of it comes down to just making sure that you're working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And a good analogy is like you can row a boat really, really hard, but if it's in the wrong direction, it's going to get you way further away from where you want to be, versus taking nice, smooth, efficient strokes down a path that you know is on course, puts you in a place where, like I said, effort is not a direct correlation to success.
Yeah, definitely. So just because you're working hard doesn't mean that things are going to change in the direction that you want them to.
Yeah, and it's okay to feel that way, because like I said, effort is a prerequisite to success. Like, you do have to put in the work.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if it's effort without progression, or there's not something to build on, that you're going to be in a position where you're just like chasing getting sweaty, being sore,
Yeah.
the quote unquote feelings of the stress loop we've talked about in the past,
Yeah.
where it's like, I want to feel like I'm getting something done in the moment. Although if I don't really have that structure, I'm not really going to get where I want to be, because there's nothing to really like build on top of. And that's really what great training programs do, is that they have structure, they have progression. They're built in a way that allows you to say, here's where I was last time I did this, and here's where I am this time I did this. What changed? What improved? It gives you a chance to actually like assess where
Yeah,
you're
that's
at.
where like the progressive overload training principle is beneficial, right? So you want to be increasing your weight or your reps or your rest time or all these different factors that you can play with to see. So you got your starting point, you do those different things to get better, and then you retest and see if you're better.
Yeah, like test, retest. That's why we
Yeah.
do like the fitness assessments of the
Yeah,
month.
yeah. You see where you're at, and then you do things to improve that specific skill or strength movement.
Yep.
And then you retest and see, wow, that worked. I got better at that because I did these things. And you can progressively see how it helped you.
Yeah, another like scientific principle behind this is the SAID principle we talked about way back on an early episode. It's just kind of like part of the overarching theme of the way that we do things, and that specific adaptations to imposed demands is what that stands for. And it's that I can't get better at something if I don't practice it. It's like trying to say that I want to get better at shooting hoops, but I never actually like go out and practice shooting hoops.
Yeah.
And if your plan doesn't really have any type of structure, you're just doing a bunch of random different things. This is one of the things that I didn't love about CrossFit is there's like constantly varied exercise at high intensity. It's like, okay, yes, there's some value to that. Great
But if
CrossFit
that's
programming
all that you're doing,
revisits things. There's structure to
yeah.
it. So I'm not completely knocking on CrossFit. It's actually one of the beautiful things is that it allows you to check all the different boxes in the variety of fitness, but that requires structure to revisit things intentionally and be
Hmm.
able to track it. But even then, just making sure that you're doing it in a way that's like repeatable and intentional.
Yeah. Well, and I know we were chatting about this the other day too, that like mind muscle connection, you can be doing the same exact thing as the person next to you doing the same program that you're doing right now, but you could get more bang for your buck than them because you're focusing on the muscle that is working in that specific exercise, or you're paying more attention to what you're doing rather than just like going through the motions with your exercise. So I think intentionally focusing on what you're doing while you're doing it is going to progress you along faster
Yeah,
or
like a
better.
neurological awareness is what it is.
Correct.
Like, does my brain understand what my body is doing, and are they communicating with each other?
Yeah.
And the best way to do this is to focus. And if you're in a situation where like I'm doing a row, you should also be thinking about what muscle groups am I doing in this row? Where am I stabilizing? What am I moving?
Hmm.
Like you got to be intentional. You got to progress that. And one of the ways progression can look is like how it feels. It doesn't always have to be data, and it doesn't have to be weight or reps or sets. It can be I'm in tune enough with this movement that next time or last time I did it, I recognize that I actually feel it more in this muscle. So you can
Yeah.
actually track those things that are maybe more subjective
Mm.
just by actually staying focused on what you're doing and having enough structure to understand when you revisit what is your goal? Is it do more weight? Is it do a better rep? Is it do more reps? Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would say the best order for that, when you start to look at the fix behind this, is it has to be repeatable structure that tracks progression. What that progression should look like, first and foremost, is your awareness of how well you're doing the movement,
The execution
the
of your
quality and
form.
execution.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Are you doing it correctly, or are you like squats, for example? Are we going halfway down? Are we going 90 degrees? Are we going below? Like, where are you falling in line of form?
Yeah, so the fix on this would be like if you're looking at how to progress and exercise, an easy way to do this if you don't have a coach or someone around you to give you feedback is film yourself. You can literally look at it side by side,
Hmm.
set up a camera so you can see the front view on one set and the side view on another set.
Yeah.
And you can look to see like, man, does that look smoother? Does it feel more effortless? Does it look technically aligned? Is there anything that seems off? Am I leaning forward? Am I leaning backwards? Am I
Yeah.
leaning to one side? Am I not staying stable through my midsection? Like you can actually look for a lot if you have the structure and the knowledge to know what to look for.
Correct. And that's if you don't, if you have no idea what you're supposed to be looking at in any given exercise, that's where a coach would be beneficial to help you through that or give you the cues and support your quality of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you get the movement down, it's about obviously like range of motion. A proper and safe range of motion would be like maximizing with control.
Mhm.
Then you can start to work on muscular endurance. Then you can start to work on workload. The ultimate goal would be, can I get this exercise or movement pattern repeated consistently, measure the quality over the first few weeks, measure the quantity over the next few weeks, and how many reps I can do at the weight that I started with,
Mhm.
and then start increasing the workload.
Yeah.
But I saw another really good tip from Mike Boyle, an OG strength coach online, and he talked about how the best gains are made from working at like 80% or more of your intensity. Like you have to push yourself to a certain level of effort to be able to see progress.
Yeah.
So it's where like working hard still is a part of it. It's working smart and working hard. But his suggestion was pick a weight that you think you can do for 10 reps. And then if you get to 8 and it's not hard at that point in time, then go up and wait and just stick with that for a while. Because
Yeah.
that's a really easy adjustment instead of being like, calculate your one rep max and then figure out 87%. Like
Yeah, that's a
most
lot
people
of
can't do
math.
that.
Yeah, that's a lot of calculations
So it's
and
like
math
do
and
a squat, pick a weight. If you can do it for 10 reps, pick a heavier weight until you can
Mhm.
get to maybe like 8, 9. That's the weight you should work at. Stay there, make sure your form stays good, keep moving forward, measure it week over week, and do that with any exercise or program you want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's what that balance of like structure and fatigue really play in. And I think a lot of times that people are just doing random stuff. They have no structure, they have no progression. They're working hard, but without any particular direction.
Yeah.
And just working harder is not going to get you where you want to be, especially if you don't have any type of structure in your program.
Well, and I think that goes into the next one, which is if you are following a program, but life happens and you get off on your program and you're like, man, I missed 3 workouts in my 5 workout week,
I'll just wait and start next week.
I'll just wait and start next week, right? So the number two would be like inconsistency, which is going to happen. You're gonna have ebbs and flows of life where maybe you don't get all your workouts in because something came
That's
up and it
literally
just,
been this week for me.
yeah,
We had an opportunity to take a much needed vacation, came off of it. One of our kids was sick literally the day that we got back. They didn't sleep very well.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden it was like, I'm trying
and
to play catch up at work.
yeah,
And then other things pop up that weren't expected. And here I am 4 days into the week and I've gotten 1.5 workouts in where normally I'd be at like at least 3 at this point.
yeah,
And in my brain, the logical feel that I have that most people have is shit, I'm behind. I'm gonna
yeah.
have to wait and just start fresh next week. We'll just chalk this week up. But I'm like, no, just do something today. Just get something in.
Even if you get 2 workouts in when normally you'd get 4 or 5, like, okay, cool, you
I
got
didn't I
two.
didn't stop and restart. I just pivoted with what I had and
Yeah,
kind of did both, right? Like it's
yeah.
not bad to start fresh the next week, but don't just give up because
Don't just stop the rest of this week just because the first few
correct.
days didn't go according to
Well,
plan.
I think sometimes it's like, well, what do I do if I can't get all of it done? What is my bare minimum? How do I set that? What is okay? And it goes back to just some of the like the reality is I don't want to lose momentum in some of the foundational things. So part of that fix is like just stack some type of movement and keep progressing through the things I need to. So maybe that looks like combining 2 workouts. You and I have done this
That's what I was
before.
just gonna say. Like maybe you missed a lower body and an upper body day, so you just do a full body day and you're like, cool, at least I did a little something everywhere to make up for those few days that I missed
Yeah, you could even
here.
take the same 2 workouts. Maybe you had 3 to 4 sets of each one of each workout, and you just do 2 sets of both workouts or
Yeah.
1 set of each workout. It's
So that's
like,
where getting creative with kind of adapting and adjusting your program to fit when, your week doesn't go perfectly,
yep,
or you have a coach who, can help you align and adapt for what you're supposed to do that day with them, knowing that you missed a few days earlier in the week or something.
yep.
Yeah.
So you have to drop the mindset that it's going to be a perfect week every week. Like you're going to have to be able to adapt when things can't be stacked the way that's ideal. You're going to get in situations where you have to pivot, you have to adjust, you have to be okay with it not being
And you can still
ideal.
build momentum if your week doesn't go perfectly. Like that's not going to throw you off from seeing full on progress by the end of the stint or program that you're in necessarily,
Yeah,
right?
you can take, not even intentionally take, but like miss a couple of days and
Yeah.
not be set back nearly as far as you think.
Yeah.
So say for example, it's Thursday now. If I said, you know what, like I really don't see any opportunity to get anything else done this week, I'll just wait and start Monday. That's like a 4 or 5 day gap. Whereas if I just said, I got to do something today and tomorrow, even if it's not ideal, and instead of like you'd said 5 this week, I get like 3. At least that was almost 50% of what I was trying to do before,
Which is better than
which
nothing.
is better than nothing. And I think that's the theme at the end of the day is something is better than nothing. Even if you're in a spot where it can't be ideal, you got to do something.
You got to move the body. You got to get the blood flowing. You got to challenge your muscles a little
Yep.
bit. And even if it's less than what you're normally doing it at, it's better than not doing it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And if you feel like you're not able to build momentum, then maybe you just need to readapt the plan. And that's where the next piece goes is like, what are your really expectations?
Yeah.
And are they real? Is it realistic for you to do a 5 day week plan if for the last 3 weeks you've only been able to do 3, maybe 4 days?
Yeah. Are your expectations aligned with what you're trying to do currently,
Yeah,
or
with
do you need to change what your expectations are?
yeah, with what's even possible too,
Yeah.
right? Like I know we have 2 different avenues of kind of how we were going to boil this down, but expectations have to be aligned with what is capable for you to be consistent with. And maybe it doesn't look the same every week. That's a big part of what we help people with a lot of times too. And I think is important, just like as a principle, is that yes, you need to have structure like we talked about that builds, but it doesn't have to be every Tuesday at 6 a.m., every Thursday at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Because
There
if,
has to be some adaptation there. It can be every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Until I can't do that, then maybe it's Tuesday at 6 p.m. or
yeah.
Wednesday at 8 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
Some level of adaptability so that the inconsistency piece doesn't become an issue because your expectations were aligned to something that wasn't even realistic in the first place.
Well, and this goes in line with, like, let's say you have a weight loss goal and you're, I want to lose 4 pounds this week or 10 pounds this month, and your expectations don't align with like what's realistically possible for you and your life and your ability to put forth the effort to get that type of scale goal,
Hmm.
right? Like we've talked about with clients before, is anywhere from half a pound to a pound a week is sustainable and consistently
For
doable
fat loss.
for fat loss.
Correct.
Yes. So if you're like, well, I want to lose 8 in the month, you're like, okay, well,
That's double what the high end of the realistic expectation is. And
correct.
is that possible? It really is.
Yes, but
If it is realistic for you to do the things necessary to do that.
yeah,
And that goes to the next level of structure
yeah,
and consistency.
yeah,
There's different layers to this. There's different levels to this. If I want extraordinary progress, I'm going to have to go to extraordinary length of structure and consistency. I'm going to have to weigh my food. I'm going to have to make sure I do not miss workouts, that I get all my sleep in. Like if I want unreasonable progress or higher than average progress, I can
yeah.
do more than average
I say
things.
higher than average is a good way to put it. Like
Yeah,
higher than average results are going to take higher than average effort into a structured plan that you're going to able to execute
consistently.
consistently.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is people see the highlight reel of the higher than average results and they don't have their expectations calibrated with what's actually realistic. Because to your point, when you look at this actual stats
Yeah.
of what's realistic for the average person to do,
Mm.
doing the average things, you got to set your sights on whether or not you're there or it's realistic for you to get to that point. And it certainly is frustrating. It sucks. Like I even go through a process sometimes where I'm like, you know what, I feel kind of bloated. I could lose 5 to 10 pounds. I'm going to
Yeah.
tighten up my nutrition. And like after 3 days of tracking, I'm like, do I look any different? Do I feel better?
Yeah.
Like that's human nature to want to
Yeah.
see that change.
You're like, oh, I changed something in my routine. Let's see if I'm getting the results already. And the reality is that results take time. Your body has to adapt, and that doesn't happen in 3 days or even
It
one
takes weeks,
week.
it takes
Yeah.
months, it
Yeah.
sometimes it takes years.
Yeah, for sure.
And part of the thing that I think takes people so long is the first two pieces that led into this, in addition to the expectations. It's, am I realistic about my structure? Am I realistic about my consistency? Am I realistic about my results?
Yeah.
And if I can be realistic about all of those things, I can set my sights on what's actually going to happen versus thinking a lower than average effort is going to lead to a higher than average result.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, part of the fix here would be like zoom out. What's the bigger picture? What's my goal? Where do I need to adapt my expectations, or where do I need to adapt what I'm doing to hit my expectations appropriately?
Yeah. Are my expectations off or are my efforts off?
Yeah. Where are you falling short?
And I think there are also daily fluctuations that are going to showcase differences in progress too, where if you are hyper fixated, like you said, you have to zoom out because, especially for women, you sent me something the other day that was this guy talking through and he had visuals of all the
It
different
was like what your
changes.
uterus looks like 1 week postpartum to 4 weeks, and I
And
mean
it
all kind
wasn't
and
just
like
pregnancy centric, it was also
yeah,
talking about like
menstrual
menstrual
cycle.
cycle.
Uh-huh.
And there was only like, it was something like 5% of the time women have normal
Regulated
and regulated hormones
hormones.
and how they fluctuate so much. And it was really just eye-opening the way that he went through the visuals and the stats and the data to say like your body fluctuates a ton, especially for females.
Yeah,
And
at
so
different
for
parts
you
of
to
your
get really
cycle.
hyper fixated and stay zoomed in on something, it's just not even fair to yourself because physiologically you're going up against like biology. You're
Yeah.
going up against science. You're going up against something that you really have no control over
Well, and that's why zooming out and looking at the bigger picture of data across weeks,
in months.
and months versus daily. It's like cool if you want to track daily, you can, but like don't get fixated on if that's up or down. Look at the month, look at the 6 weeks, look at the 12 weeks progression
Yeah,
and
and
how it's
commit to a
going.
real
And
timeline
yeah,
that allows you to see progress so that you're actually like aligned and you
yeah,
don't go through this emotional roller coaster because your expectations are so far off from what reality looks like.
Yeah, and you don't want to be like, oh, I did this for a week and I'm not seeing it. It's like, okay, well, we need to do something a little bit longer than a week to see if it's legitimately working or
Well, I think
not.
that happens
And
a
that's
ton.
training, that's nutrition, that's both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, I think that happens a ton where the expectation isn't aligned and someone ends up changing something that was going to work for them. They just weren't patient or focused enough to allow it to have the time to work.
Yeah.
So you get into this situation where it's like, man, I don't know if this is working. It's been 3 weeks. I've made all these changes. I'm supposed to feel different or look different. I feel better. It might be working. I'm not sure. Google said this. So and so said that. And then you look back and you're like, okay, well, what does the data say? Like,
Yeah.
what is the big picture? Are you following structure? Are you doing all these things, but not changing it before you actually have a reason to change?
Yeah.
If people can stay patient and really convicted in a process, or at least if you've committed to something, see it through long enough to have enough information to legitimately go through and make an unemotional decision that this is not working for me.
Yeah.
I've seen no progress. I've given myself a real timeline. I've done all the things I needed to make the adjustments necessary. I put the effort in. I put the
Yeah.
structure and consistency in before you make a change based off of an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes into the next one really well too is like, is your lifestyle out of alignment? Are you aligned with all these other factors in your lifestyle so you can see the progress from what you're putting in at the gym, right? So I'm doing all these workouts at the gym. I'm looking for these results. I'm trying to build muscle, but
I'm tired. My energy's not getting
I'm not
better.
recovering well. I'm exhausted all the
I feel like
time.
I'm just working really hard and getting the opposite of what I would expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably a gap in something different than the physical effort you're putting in to
Yeah.
train.
So progress isn't just the training piece. There's so many more puzzle pieces that go into all of it. So you do see the progress from your training,
Hmm.
right? So that's the sleeping, the hydration, the toxins that you're consuming, and the food that you're eating.
Yeah, so we'll go back to the 6 steps for success.
Yeah.
If you've followed us for long, you've heard these before, but there are 6 things that are going to really all need to be somewhat dialed in for you to see sustainable progress. If you're missing any of these pieces, think of it like pillars of a table or a chair or a building. You're not going to have a solid foundation to see and build on top of if you're missing some of these components or maybe not as consistent in them.
Yeah.
They are number one, strength training 3 times per week.
Yeah.
That is lifting weights at 80% of your effort or higher, like we talked about earlier, in a structured and progressive way.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. That's not being in bed for 7 to 8 hours. You can probably tack on an extra 30 to 60 minutes because most people lay in bed
Yeah.
or wake up once or twice throughout the night. It's getting 7 to 8 hours of actual sleep.
Which is really hard.
It is difficult, especially if you've got a lot going on in your life.
Yeah, or a lot of stressors that keep you up or keep you from going to bed on a timely manner. But working towards at least the 7 at a bare minimum
Yep.
is going to support your body's recovery. That's where your hormones are regulating, that's where your muscles are recovering. Like a lot is happening while you're sleeping. So you have to give your body time to sleep so those things can happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another one being movement. This is traditionally measured as steps per day.
Yeah.
So 8 to
Activity.
10,000 steps is a really general range that you can get from most places in regards to what is quote unquote enough movement.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, that's done spread out instead of done in one setting. So, for example, getting up, running 5 miles in the morning, and sitting for the next 12 hours straight is not super ideal.
Yeah.
Same as if you flip it the other way around, where you sit all day and then you go ham at the gym for 2 hours at night.
Yeah.
You want to try to spread it out as much as you can. Obviously, not every day is going to be perfect, but that drives circulation. It gets blood flow. It gets you outside, ideally, which is
Yeah.
going to give you sunlight
Yeah.
and a whole nother host of benefits. But getting enough steps just to keep your metabolism and your body moving
Yeah.
is the third piece of the puzzle out of these 6.
Yeah. And then hydration. So the general recommendation again would be half your body weight in ounces of water. The more active you are, the more you're going to need. The hotter it is outside, the more you're sweating, the more you should be consuming. So that's just kind of like the bare minimum, which I know can be hard for some people to drink that much water. So having a water bottle, we always have water bottles everywhere we go. And I think it's pretty popular now to have water bottles. But hydration is so, so important. Again, if your body's not hydrated, it's going to be harder for your cells to absorb all the nutrients from the things that you're eating and the blood flow. I mean, it's just obviously your body's like 70% water. So like you
Yeah,
need
so the
water.
cells in your body are made up of 70% water,
Yeah.
and your body is made up of cells. So your body is made up of a ton of water and
Yeah.
fluids. And if you're not getting enough fluids, like you said, you're not going to maintain the right balance. But also, a lot of people fail to take into consideration the electrolyte balance too. Our body is a big electricity driven
Hmm.
organism and mechanism. There's a lot of things that are going on internally that are balanced by having enough electrolytes with the fluids in addition too. So
Yeah.
making sure that, as you'd said, if you're sweating more or working out more or moving more or whatever it might be, having the right balance of electrolyte replenishment
Yeah.
is also key for hydration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Next one would be consuming as much whole foods as possible and enough whole foods and nutrients and macros and micros and all the different
Yeah,
things,
just your
right?
food intake is huge. I think
Yeah.
that what is pretty common here is that people either have one of two issues. They overeat because they're eating a ton of processed foods, and that comes with extra junk calories. Or when they do switch on and they're eating a lot of quality nutrient dense foods, they're not as calorie dense. Maybe they're even coming short on calories too. But finding that balance of like, one, let me get healthier options of foods. Like if I'm eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables, fruits higher because they have more sugar in them.
Mm-hmm.
But like vegetables, if you're measuring that out and look at it, it's not that many calories.
No, it's not, which is more volume, which is good for fiber and so many other things. But in terms of like your total calorie intake, it's going to bring it down. So you're going to get fuller a little bit faster. So sometimes it can be hard to eat enough foods when you're eating mostly whole foods. If
Especially if you have a performance goal or you carry a decent amount of
correct.
muscle mass,
Yeah,
just getting enough quality calories for someone who
it's
does need to
hard.
consume more is really difficult. It's
Yeah,
something I've always struggled with.
yeah,
A lot of times when I'm meeting my calorie needs or exceeding them, it's because I'm eating more junk.
yeah,
But when I really do clean things up, I notice I'm like, man, this is actually kind of difficult for me to eat good quality foods in the right calorie amount that I need to really sustain just function and performance,
yeah,
you know?
for sure. So eating as many whole foods as possible, ideally, obviously trying to keep it close to your calorie needs based off of your activity levels and your goals. And yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
And last but not least, reducing toxins. And this can come in a lot of different forms. The most popular toxin that people consume is alcohol.
mm,
It is a drug. It is something that is not really beneficial to you in any other way than a social lubricant.
yeah,
And I'm certainly not against people drinking, but I think it's one of those things that you have to have a realistic expectation around your goals. Like we
yeah.
talked about, if I want to see consistent progress and feel better, a consistent or heavy consumption of alcohol is not going to get me there.
Well, and alcohol is calories, so that is part of your calorie intake. So if you're having alcohol that's taking away calories from other things that could be more beneficial for your body in terms of recovery and nutrients and all this stuff. And so it's just it's a lot harder to see progress if you're drinking regularly, especially.
Yep.
Now, per occasion, okay, cool, it's not going to totally harm you, but if you're having it regularly, it's going to impact your progress for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And other toxins we don't dive into a whole lot, but like your environmental toxins, obviously it's a huge topic in the world right now. Our consumerism of like plastic and just all these different chemicals and things. And so just trying to mitigate toxins that you're exposing yourself to in your
Yeah.
home, your cleaning products, your toothpaste. I mean, just like everything, right? So dialing in little things at a time to reduce your toxic load
Yeah.
is good.
It's easy to get in a rabbit hole on this and be like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, everything is
You're like, I got to
toxic and
throw
I can't
everything
drink
in my
it.
house out. It's like, okay, well, just next time you need a refill or a new something, try to make a better
A more health
choice,
conscious
a more
decision.
health conscious decision.
The
When you,
Yucca app, Yuka, is a pretty awesome
it just,
resource
it
for that.
rates ingredients and their toxic load. So if you scan, an item, let's take body lotion,
Yep.
right? You can scan your body lotion and it'll say, oh, it's got these ingredients in here. They are known for this and this. So maybe you don't want to have that on your body. So just being more mindful of the toxins that you're consuming.
Another thing that is extremely toxic that is not necessarily directly chemically related to your health, maybe more indirect, would be the people you put yourself around, the
Yeah.
places that you go to, the things that you consume through social media and other media channels, TV, the relationships you choose. Like that stuff can have a toxic effect on your health long term as well. And I know when you look at all 6 of those things that actually drive results, a big thing to add in to remind you is that you can't be perfect with all these things at once
Totally.
unless it is literally the only thing that you are focused on. And that is not realistic for 99% of people unless you're getting paid as a professional athlete. You have the resources to be able to fund perfection and high level structure with a professional team. It's where the 80-20 rule comes into play,
Hmm.
not just with food, but 80% of the time, can you make health conscious decisions in each of these categories?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be perfect for things to happen the other way. And some of these things that we're talking about, great example, a week off of working out, a day where you don't get 10,000 steps, a day where you do go out and eat pizza with your friends and family and have a beer, a day where you have some extra coffee when you need it. Those things in small doses can actually be good for your emotional
Yeah.
and psychological health, which is why the 80-20 rule is something that's like, if you're not really trying to dial in change, we'd say 90-10 if you really want to see change
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Once again, above average effort for above average results.
Yeah.
The 20% is probably healthy for you so that you don't get obsessive about something,
Yeah.
because that is equally as unhealthy as going so far off the deep end that, you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's not realistic for you to sustain long term, or it sucks away from other areas of
You
your life and
For sure, you
success.
got to find that balance, but you also have to be realistic with, well, how much do I want to see progress and where can I put a little bit more effort here or there to do so? Or you're not going to see as fast of progress if you're not going to be as intentional with those things.
Which is a
It goes hand
perfect
in hand.
segue to the final reason why people don't see results is because they overcomplicate things, which seems contradictory to what we just talked about. It seems like there's a lot of things to be moving at once and there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
There certainly are, but this is where the zoom in and zoom out game
Well,
comes
and I
in.
think you just have to, if you've got a fitness goal or a health goal, a weight loss goal, a training goal, like you do need to change your lifestyle and adapt your lifestyle to fit what that goal is, to be healthier, to be
Great
stronger.
example. I had a client today who's seen some progress recently. I'm like, hey, would you change? And he said, everything. And I'm like, yeah, that is pretty realistic. You have to change your lifestyle
Yeah.
in order to see it. I changed that I was more frequent in the gym. I've taken advantage of different supplement options. I've
I'm not
dialed in
drinking
my
as
nutrition. I'm not drinking
much,
as much.
whatever.
I'm getting more sleep. Like
Yeah.
they're doing more of all of the things that are going to support them getting where they're at.
Yeah.
And you can even do that in short doses too. That can be like, hey, I'm going to sprint to really go a little bit higher level with this and see if that makes sense, as long as the sprint is like 60 to 90 days, not three
Yeah.
weeks, you
Yeah.
know?
And you can make it work in your life
Yep.
based off of your schedule and all the other factors, right? But yeah, if you're like, I'm trying to change all these things all at one time, is really unrealistic for most people most of the time. And
Yep.
so you have to assess. We always say you like 2 to 3 habits at a time
Mhm.
until you get really good with that one. Don't add another one in there or don't
Yep.
change what that focus is quite yet until you're like, I'm really good with this. Okay, cool. I can work on the next thing now.
A really simple structure for this would be to look at the next 12 weeks and say, I'm going to pick 2 to 3 things to change every 2 weeks. So I can make 6 pretty significant shifts in the right direction.
Mm.
The next 2 weeks, I'm going to focus on the lowest hanging fruit, the thing that's the most obvious and easiest for me to change so I can stack and build momentum. When I go into weeks 3 and 4, I can get into a place to where now I'm habit stacking,
Yeah.
going back to the atomic habits. It's one of the main pieces of the book that James Clear talks about, is that I have to be able to add a couple of things in, integrate them into my lifestyle, make them a little bit more consistent. And then when that becomes second nature, I add more.
Yeah.
If you want to look at like a 12-week sprint to something, you could make up to, I would say, like 12 pretty intentional changes by doing 2 every 2 weeks and stacking from there.
Yeah.
And if you can do that for 90 days, even if you only retain 50% of it, you're a heck of a lot better off than you were when you started.
Yeah, and then you can
And then you go back
start
through the
go
process
back through the
again, and
process
you keep
again.
building.
Or if it's a little slower than that, you're still making progressions and strides towards it, but maybe you do 2 habits for 3 to 4 weeks because that's just what's realistic for you. That's okay. You're still making progressions in the
Yeah,
right
so like
direction.
even dumbing it down and saying like, all right, cool, I'm gonna pick those 6 things that we just walked through.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be strength, sleep, steps, hydration, whole foods, toxins. I'm going to order them in the most priority to the least priority of what needs the biggest change.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick one thing to focus on every 2 weeks. You've covered all of that over the course of the next 12.
Yeah.
So I think it's like you said, you got to pick out what's realistic.
Yeah.
and you've got to figure out what's going to fit into your lifestyle and what can you stay consistent with, and
Yeah.
how do you have structure around that, like all the things that we're
Yeah, like
saying.
for example, you're like, I'm sleep's pretty good. I'm working out 3 days a week, but my hydration is terrible and I have alcohol multiple times a week. You're like, great, those are our two focus points, right? Like
Yep.
just to give a specific
So how do
example.
I fix that? Every time I want to drink, I make myself a hydration mocktail.
Yes, there you go.
That's it. You
Yeah.
swap it out, do some sparkling water, put
Add
something in it that gives it a little bit of a taste that's low to no calorie,
yeah,
and that's your fix.
yeah,
We have called that the replacement game.
yeah.
It's an easy adaptation.
If I wanted to do this, but I'm trying to change that habit, I replace it with doing this instead. So at least you're still doing something in place of that habit that you're trying to break, but it's something that's better for
You're
you.
conditioning your brain to be
Yeah.
able to adapt something different in the place of that one so that it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like you're only taking something away.
Like at night, you like having a carbonated
Correct.
water almost every single night. You're like, that's your thing. You have a carbonated water and it gives you that bubbly flavor kind of fix that you're looking for, but it's better than a beer every night,
Yep.
right? Or some other kind of drink. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that the thing people forget is that you can try to do it all, but you will almost certainly get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And if you're overwhelmed, it makes it hard to be consistent. And that clutter is just going to absolutely kill your ability to execute the plan that you need to be building on week after week.
Yeah.
And that's really the theme of all of this, is there has to be a plan in place for you to be able to make progress.
Correct.
You have to create a plan that allows you to, one, not just chase working really hard. It has to give you an opportunity to have some structure, something to build on, something to measure,
Yeah.
something consistent.
Yep.
You have to repeat that on a regular basis. So you have to set yourself up in a realistic manner that doesn't allow you to fall off because you set your sights too high on something that's not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have to align your expectations. You have to look at your lifestyle habits and you have to get rid of clutter and simplify what you're doing.
Yeah, because if you can make it really simple and you can focus on what matters most, you start from a baseline, you build the training, the lifestyle pillars, all those things into place, and you make subtle changes and layer it instead of trying to change everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to a certain point, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, you can zoom out in those moments and do what we always call goal reviews, which anybody can do. You don't have to have a coach to do a plan review or a goal review. You just have to schedule it and be intentional about it.
Yeah.
How am I doing in these areas? What do I need to focus on? It's no different than if you're trying to do some type of financial planning,
Yeah.
which everybody can relate to because money is the thing that keeps the world going around.
Yeah.
If I don't sit down and look at my finances, I can't change my finances. And fitness and health are absolutely no different.
Yeah.
So you've got to really like take the time and iron that out, because step one is having a plan.
Most people don't need something new. They need to align themselves on all the different things that we just talked about.
For
Gaining
sure.
alignment on your training, your lifestyle, your expectations, your consistency, your load that you're able to handle. You got to get on the same page.
Yeah. Progress comes from what you can repeat.
Yep.
On that, we will catch you guys next week.
This episode of the Higher Form podcast is powered by Avexia Health and Performance, your home for smart training, simple nutrition, and real accountability. Built to help you look, feel, and perform your best. Whether you're just getting started or chasing your next level, visit avexiakc.com to learn more and start building your higher form today.